morning, everyone. How you doing
Timed that
today?
pretty well. Can I share an inside baseball gripe with you?
Yeah.
So I have this browser and I love it. And one of the things it does is it does this nice like picture in picture. But there's this glitch with StreamYard where if I navigate away from the tab and we switch videos that we're playing, it doesn't play the video for me. So when we switched over to the song, instead of getting to hear the song, I just had black. So I just had to guess when it was time to wave.
And you guessed right. Wow. My Chrome updated and it looks different. Not in a bad way, just in a different way. Okay. Hey, welcome, everyone. We're here to talk about Disney today at the Disney Morning Show. My name is Julie Mosley, co-founder here at Laughing Place. That's Kyle Burbank, our managing editor. Hey, Kyle.
Hi. We're having a hectic morning, in case you can't tell.
So here's let's give you some of my inside baseball. So I wake up every morning somewhere around 5:30, pull up my phone, immediately start watching Get Up, which starts at 5 here on the West Coast. So I just watched it from the beginning. And yesterday was a great day because every day is football on Get Up. It's all football, 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 except the night before Draymond Green had decided to attack someone on the basketball court again. So Greeny comes in with the show, which throw everything out the window. It doesn't matter what we had scheduled today. We have something new to focus on. Draymond Green has torn apart all of our plans. So here at Laughing Place on our morning show, one Nelson Peltz has torn up all our plans, scattered them all over the place.
When did Draymond get back from suspension?
This was his 6th game after being back from his last suspension after trying to choke a guy on the court, and he decided to whirl around and hit someone in the side of the head. So he is now somehow he only got 5 games for the choking. He is now on indefinite suspension. We shall see how that goes. But
cool.
This morning, we had some extremely legitimate. And we will get to that in just a moment.
It's so important that we are going to ignore it for now.
I temporarily forgot we have other stuff to do before we get to that. So stay tuned. We're going to be talking about the big Nelson Peltz story. Of course, that is the big news of the day. It's probably the big news for a while. We're going to have Benji joining us. He's probably knows more about Disney business than anyone you or I know. He'll be joining us shortly to talk about it. But we are going to do our normal stuff this morning. We got to know how the stock is doing. We got to know what the weather is like around the world of Disney. And then we'll get Nelson Peltz. So here we go. All right, Kyle, I don't know if this Nelson Peltz news is having any effect on things, but let's say within 25 cents, what is Disney's current stock price?
Okay, well, yesterday I got it exactly. It was 1950, so I'm going to say 93.50.
93.50, 94.46. You could not be. You have never been more wrong. I don't know if it's his reaction to Nelson Peltz or not, but the stock is up almost 2% today.
I would think that it is.
Woohoo! Let's hear it.
Tell me what he thinks later.
Which he will do in just a moment. But first, let us get to the weather.
Here's Ethan.
Hello there, and welcome to a busy Thursday edition of the LP Disney Weather Update. Well, way up north where the air gets cold, there's a tale about Christmas that you've all been told, and a real famous cat all dressed up in red. And he spends the whole year working out on his sled. It's the little Saint Nick. It's the little Saint Nick. Ooh, Merry Christmas, Saint Nick. Christmas comes this time each year. Let's get to the weather. Anaheim is sunny this morning and will warm to 75 this afternoon. Tonight's lows are in the mid-50s. Walt Disney World is overcast today and will be around 70, give or take a few degrees in either direction. Castaway Cay is having a wet day, with thunderstorms and showers in the forecast all day long. Disneyland Paris has a chance of some light rain this evening and will be 44 degrees. Tokyo will also get a rainy start to the day tomorrow, though things should clear in the mid-afternoon. Oddly, it will be 53 in the afternoon but warm to a high of 67 at 11 p.m., at which point it will be windy. Shanghai is expecting showers throughout the day tomorrow and will top out at 50 degrees. Lastly, Hong Kong will be in the mid-70s for much of the day tomorrow. That's it for another Disney weather report. I've got to run, so I'll see you all tomorrow. Bye for now.
I feel like Ethan knew what was coming. He's like, let me just get in and out today.
Or maybe he was prepared his script after the news came out, and maybe it was right before airtime.
All right, so Benjamin Breitbart, the CEO of the Laughing Place company, and
LLC.
the vice president in charge of all things Disney business here at Laughing Place, has decided to join us. I'm not sure if he knows he's on the air, but Benji, if you can hear us, you are currently on the air.
That's great.
Okay, good. Aware of that, you did nothing to make me know that you were there. Okay, let's get Benji up here. Let's get a picture of the people involved here real quick. Tell us who these people are and what the heck happened this morning.
I can't see the picture, so but I presume they're Nelson Peltz and Jay Rizzullo.
Respectively, yes.
Nelson Peltz is an activist investor, which means basically he buys stock of companies and then tries to do what he wants with them, thinking he knows better than, and sometimes he's right, than the current management. Jay Rizzullo is the former head of Disney Parks, well, back when it was called Disney Parks and Resorts, and was CFO, got passed over for the sort of heir apparent role when it was given to Tom Staggs, and then left in a hissy fit. One thing that I should note is, unlike most times, most of the stock that Nelson Peltz is, claiming he has is actually owned by Ike Perlmutter, who is the former head of Marvel, who got fired by Disney. I guess I should say got laid off by Disney during the last layoffs. So yeah, I mean, obviously, two people that have sort of a personal gripe with Bob Iger. Rightfully or wrongly, I'm not in the boardroom to know, but so it'll be interesting. Not the former Disney Parks I was expecting to talk about this morning.
Yeah, we're actually going to have Ben also talk about the passing of Dick Nunis, but sticking with this for a moment, Jay Rizzullo, as you said, I mean, hissy fit, whatever, but you reach a point where you're either going to get promoted or move on, and he reached that point. He didn't get the promotion, so he had to move on. So it seems just so interesting that he is one of the people. What does it mean? What is Nelson Peltz thinking? What is he thinking with this choice?
I think Nelson Peltz is saying, okay, here's a guy who was Disney CFO. He knows. One of the complaints that people had against Nelson Peltz the first time he tried to do this was, well, he doesn't know anything about Disney. He doesn't know how to run Disney. He doesn't know how to, he's never worked for Disney, never worked for an entertainment company, definitely never worked for a parks company. So it brings in experience running the business. You could claim whether he did it well or not, but he at least has knowledge of Disney. He's not a complete outsider. And it also sort of highlights Bob Iger's succession troubles, because he was sort of a victim of that. Once again, I mean, that not picking somebody does not mean you're bad at succession. That might mean you're good at succession. But, it kind of highlights that, here they said, it reminds everyone the horse race they had set up between Tom Staggs and Jay Rizzullo, and they ended up picking neither. This is the famous Michael Eisner speech where Michael Eisner said, Jay Rizzullo went to Disneyland Paris, not speaking a word of English, and came back speaking fluent. Yeah.
This is the opening of Bugs Land early in BCA's history, with Michael Eisner still presiding over the company. So it'll give you some idea how far back Jay Rizzullo. He's both served as CFO and the head of Parks and Resorts, as it was called back then, I believe. What was his role?
Well, and if you go back to the last D23 Expo, the first D23 Expo, excuse me, two people who are no longer with the company and weren't with the company that much longer than that Expo was Dick Cook of Appreciation Studios, and Jay Rizzullo gave a presentation on the parks. And Dick Cook was star-studded. He had Captain Jack. He had, Miley Cyrus sing a song. The Muppets showed up. It was, sort of a star-studded extravaganza, like a complete showman experience. And then you had the parks business come up, who literally makes shows, and ended like 15 minutes early. Talked about all the new meet and greets coming to Fantasyland and Star Tours too. And so amongst a group of us, we would just said, for the rest of it, if it was good, we would say it was Cook, and if it was bad, we would say it was Rizzullo. So those friends were hitting me up this morning.
So,
I'm among those friends.
Yeah.
I was going to say that's part of our origin story. One thing I wanted to ask you, so they're nominating themselves, so presumably they would select people that they want shareholders to vote against so they can make room for them. Is that accurate? But they have not stated who those people are?
They have not stated who those people are. I think if you saw when Disney named those 2 new directors, that was sort of a defensive position by bringing in 2 very strong, at least on paper, strong candidates. That makes it harder to go against. It also somewhat protects the members of the board that are minorities, because you don't want to replace, you don't want to ruin the board diversity by replacing them with 2 white guys. So
Trian did respond to that, to the recent 2 directors. They said this reactive board self-refreshment on the eve of a proxy contest is insufficient in our opinion, both because the new directors were chosen without shareholder input and because they seemingly do not own meaningful amounts of stock.
Yeah, which is a bunch of baloney, right? They're always selected without shareholder input, and then they're voted on the neck. I mean, it's always, and of course they don't meaningful. I mean, they compared to Nelson Peltz, of course they don't, right? I mean, that's you don't have a proxy fight with people who own a lot of shares. I mean, then it becomes sort of hostile takeover territory. So I think it'll be interesting to see who they select. Last time they chose Michael Furman as kind of their whipping boy, high up level executive at MasterCard. But it'll be interesting. It's going to be an interesting proxy fight. It's going to be different than the last one. One is, they're not going to be able to just sort of save it with, bringing back Bob Iberger, which is kind of what they did last time. But it'll be interesting to see, and it'll be interesting when the date of the shareholder meeting is, because we've talked before how Disney kind of weighted all of their losses last quarter, right? They took all those write-downs on Star Cruiser, on all the content that they pulled from Disney Plus. They kind of were like, okay, we're going to just dump it on that quarter, which actually ended up making more money than people expected. So it'll be interesting to see if they wait for the earnings in February, presumably for the first quarter of this fiscal year, which should have better results. And will those be a bigger enough surprise that this will kind of quiet down, or is it going to be more the same, kind of middling, where this will linger, or it'll be poor, where this will get a lot of traction? So it may, typically the shareholder meeting was always kind of in March. Last time it was delayed because of all this, and it'll be interesting to see where it is this time.
Doobie, can you pull up the stock again?
Yeah, well, just a moment. I just want to give Variety is saying that Disney has responded. It will review Trian's intent to nominate Nelson Peltz and Jay Rizzullo and, quote, provide a recommendation to the board as part of its governance process. So I'm glad Disney is giving this due consideration and not just dismissing it out. Yes.
Is this significant to you at all, Ben? The stock price this morning? Because I think the S&P is up a bit, but not 2%.
I don't know that 2% is ever going to be significant to me.
Well, when you're under $100, it's like
$2. Right, but I mean, the dollar amount means nothing. It's all about percentage. So I don't know. I think you're talking about a company that has debt where those, I think the interest rates have a lot more to do with any movement than this. I think this was expected. I think this was priced in. I don't think that this is I will say, reading Disney's statement, it's not as cordial as when you read it this way. The Walt Disney Company confirmed to Trian Fund Management alongside certain affiliates, including Trian's previously disclosed partnership with Isaac Perlmutter, pursuant to which it obtained beneficial ownership of Mr. Perlmutter's Disney shares, has provided notice on blah 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 blah. They're putting Ike right. I mean, they didn't need to do that. They did that intentionally, and the government's nominating committee. I mean, they're basically saying what they need to say. I would be shocked if they suddenly go, oh yeah, let's bring in Jay Rizzullo and Nelson Peltz. I mean, there's probably conversations happening behind the scenes about some sort of settlement. Maybe who knows if that's going to be. I guess the hard part on this one, this is personal. This is not like, oh, I see a company that's underperforming. I know what they need to do. They're not listening to me. I'm going to make them do it. This is personal. This is not about. It's not even about Nelson Peltz's stock price, because Nelson Peltz doesn't really own that much in this deal anymore. It's more about like Pulmoner, and I don't know that. I mean that he's vindictive, and I mean that's not news, and it'll be interesting. If you ever look up his lawsuit he did against his neighbor.
Well, that's why what interests me the most about this, because we've seen this from Nelson Peltz before, but Jay Rizzullo decided, not that he's ever going to have a career with Disney otherwise, but Jay Rizzullo deciding to hitch his star to someone like this is very interesting to me. So, I see Disney.
He might view this as a second chance to become CEO, right? Or, become relevant.
I was reading Twitter reaction to this, and my favorite is from an @VashSky. Jay Rizzullo was once in a head-to-head race with Tom Staggs to be the successor. When their two roles were swapped in 2010, it appears Jay didn't lose. He was just playing the long game. So, there we
go. Well, Staggs is also once again in the conversation. So,
well, but I don't know anymore. I mean, his Candle Media thing just is tanking, and I think that's a perfect example of people's misconception of someone's skill versus their actual skill.
Now, I don't know if you guys have checked your email since we've been doing this, but I think Disney has responded in an effort to try to distract people from this news by just announcing that 10 all-new episodes of Bluey are coming to Disney Plus on January 12th, all dropping that day. So
that is what I've been trying to get into to do for like 10 minutes, and
it is there.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Okay. Good. It's there. We're good. We don't have to discuss anymore. All right. So that is obviously the big news. This is probably, I'm sure someone's going to be on CNBC at some point and all.
Yeah, I got it on the background in case. So if I disappear, I'm getting the update. But
everybody's in the house again. Is Iger coming in? Is Eisner coming in next?
See, that would have been the real coup. If they came in and said Michael Eisner, we're nominating Michael Eisner. I mean, I'm not saying that would have been, I still would have supported it, but like that would have been.
I was watching news radio last night, and they were at a restaurant, and he's calling Mike, and he's like, "Hey, it's Michael Eisner." He's like, "I think that's Mike Ovitz." He's like, "Yeah, it doesn't matter."
That's right. Oh, before we leave this subject, we do want to talk about Dick Nunis with Benji, who actually knew Dick Nunis, so very interesting. But for Disney fans who are disappointed with what Disney has been doing since Iger came back, and it's like, this is not what I expected. This company needs help, and they see change as inherently a good thing. What kind of change do you think would be expected if Nelson Peltz got his way?
Cost cutting.
Okay. So this is not the.
No, I mean, I think you would see a lot of slimming down, content spend. I mean, Ike is famous for, going into the trash and taking pieces of paper and cutting them up to make scrap paper. I think you would see a lot of just those. You would probably see a lot less sort of fringe expenses that may, are maybe cultural, but not necessarily, like the corporate giving that Disney does, environmental programs. I mean, there's limits to what they can cut back on there, but I would just say you're probably talking about a very cost-focused Disney, which is, I don't know the right answer. I don't know the right amount that Disney should be spending on their content or on their parks. I mean, if I knew that, then I wouldn't be here. But it's, there's just to refresh people's memory, Ike was the one who didn't want to pay Robert Downey Jr. to appear in Civil War, even though, and didn't want to pay Terrence Howard what he wanted for Iron Man 2, so they replaced him with Don Cheadle. So, he
got that one right.
Well, I mean, once again, not saying, there's a time to be cost conscious. You do not. I mean, I support that, right? Spend money where it's best used. If Disney just spends money on whatever it wants, and without any sort of constraints, then it runs out of money and can't spend it where it needs to. There's no doubt. I mean, this is not the Walt time where Walt just says, you know what, I just want to build a Matterhorn roller coaster. He did it because it was Walt. I mean, that doesn't exist anymore. But you do want to have a same. I shudder at the thought of a WDI operating as Marvel did. I mean, I know plenty of people that worked at Marvel during the Ike era, and it was, quixotic. It was very,
it's
very
Casadic.
Huh?
Joe Quesada.
Oh.
Oh, that's way too fast for that to pop in your head. Okay, let's move on to what we thought was going to be our top story today, and that is the passing of Dick Nunis. Disney. He is a Disney legend, right?
Yeah.
Whether he has the title or not, which he does, he is easily one of the most legendary figures in the history of the Walt Disney Company, specifically in their theme parks. And so we are lucky enough to have someone with us on our team here, our CEO, who actually, in his time working at Disney, spent some time with Dick Nunis and to just talk about his legacy.
I've been thinking a lot about his legacy because it's ironically, this is what made me think of Jay Rizzullo last night, because there's not been that many heads of Disney parks. It was him, Judson Green, Paul Pressler, Jay Rizzullo, so on and so forth. And it's amazing to me that this is a man who started with the company as a training Disneyland employees, with Van Arsdale France, created the Disney culture we know. I think Disney fans, myself included, sometimes forget that what we think of as Disney cast members, Disney culture, that was just for the parks. The studios didn't have that. That was something that was created for a guest-facing business. They weren't pointing with two fingers when they were animating Snow White. It just wasn't a thing. And when you think about how Walt, that the foundation of that, which really was kind of established itself between 1955 and 1965, that first 10 years when Disneyland really started to grow and really figured out who it is, what it is, in terms of its culture. But then you're talking about a guy who was able to go through that, go through the sort of open Epcot Center, open Walt Disney World, then open Epcot Center, and then Hollywood Studios, and really transcended from that Walt era to that Eisner era, or I should say that Disney run era to that Eisner era, without any major hiccups. It's definitely old school. Definitely, you talk to people who knew him, and they were still afraid of him. I mean, I don't want to say names, but there's high-level Disney executives, when he would show up, would just like cower in the corner, like trying to stay away because they did not want to deal with him. He was tough, and yet it was this contradiction, right? Disney, great culture, friendly, all that stuff, but backstage it was a whole other thing. He was tough, but he also took care of you and supported you when you should be supported. If he wanted to fire you, you were going to get fired, or be afraid of it. But he got your back. It wasn't until really Judson Green, where the sort of more Josh D'Amaro, I'm going to say hi to all the cast members, that kind of culture came about. It was a tough culture. I mean, the kind of thing where they would weigh you at City Hall, and if you got too large, you were, you're gone. If you couldn't show when you were pregnant, you had to go backstage. That was sort of almost a, what's the word I'm looking for? Extreme view of what we consider Disney culture, which was the way he led it. And tough. I mean, if you saw his D23 presentation about 2 years ago, it was about 2 years ago. He can get kind of cranky, but you still would respect him for that he was able to persevere and grow the business. He made Epcot. He brought. He grew the parks internationally through things like Disneyland Paris, Hollywood Studios. He kind of excelled, particularly when Michael came in and just wanted to invest in the parks and grew it. And he wanted dominance. He's Universal was going to build a studio theme park. He was going to build a studio theme park. Busch Gardens was doing its thing. Animal Kingdom came along. It was Church Street Station. You had Pleasure Island. But his role in creating that Disney culture and sticking to it and supporting it, I mean, is undeniable. And if anything, his commitment to Bermuda shorts is quite.
So I want to read what Bob Iger and Josh D'Amaro had to say about his passing. That's his importance. He got the quotes from the top. But my only real memory of Dick Nunis is not personal, but he got a window on Main Street in 1999, and I wasn't able to go to that ceremony, but I know someone who did, and said his most memorable line there was talking about how Disneyland is, still looks good. Could use a coat of paint here and there, right there from the podium of getting his window on Main Street with all the Disneyland execs there and everything. So tough sounds like the right word. Bob Iger, CEO, said, "Today we mourn the passing of Dick Nunis, a true Disney legend whose contributions to the Walt Disney Company have touched the lives of millions of people all over the world. Which started as a summer job training future Disneyland employees would ultimately become a storied 44-year career at Disney. Dick took the values and philosophies he learned directly from Walt and incorporated them into everything he did at Disney. We are grateful for his many achievements, and we extend our deepest sympathies to his family and loved ones." And Josh D'Amaro expressed similar sentiments, using his specifically to talk on behalf of the cast, but obviously that's his area. So
he didn't leave sort of on his own accord. And I think there was some sort of he really didn't come out until that D20 until he wrote that book for Disney. He just did not show up. There's a great, if you can find it, there's a 60 Minutes interview he did when sort of talking about like Michael Eisner's era, and it's great. It's fascinating. It's kind of around the time that they were really engaging all those expansion projects, maybe 89, 90, 92. I don't know exactly, but it's a great insight into the world of Dick Nunis, particularly as he's at the peak of, I won't say peak, I mean, obviously when you're running Disney parks, which he effectively did for a long time, but when they were engaged in so much all at the same time. And he yacht club, beach club, all that stuff. And it's quite, I looked up to him. When I worked at Disney, I loved working for the old school people, and they were tough. The Phil Holmes, I don't want to say other names because I don't want to bring people into it, but because there was this commitment to excellence and this knowledge that you just couldn't get from someone who was there for 10 years, and you could see the Dick Nunis in them, and you could see how they weren't Dick Nunis. Like they were still afraid of him, but they would, it's just, no, you're going to do it right. We're going to, you don't care about the guests. Is that what you're saying? You don't want to do it right? You don't care about them? And there was no one who cared more about the guests and cast, even if he was tough on them. He was definitely a fan of tough love. I think you could learn a lot from the importance he put on people, importance he put on picking the right people. I think sometimes we pick people today because they're, they say the right things, but he actually sees them do the action. And I think that was his ability to pick leaders to lead these businesses was quite impressive. And I recommend his book if you get a chance, from Disney Editions as well.
You mentioned Bermuda shorts, so there's an article on the Disney Parks blog about him having a window on Main Street, and I love what it says here. It says when the Contemporary opened in 1971, he pushed to have a wave machine installed, and although it worked, it produced unforeseen complications and quickly removed. But he remained an advocate of providing surfing at the resort, and finally got his wish when an updated version of the wave machine opened in 1989 at Disney's Typhoon Lagoon. So, one more thing to thank Dick Nunis for in his.
Well, it's about the Bermuda shorts. So he went to Bermuda, and he's like, "Oh, it's hot here," and so he came back and said, "Okay, now in addition to just wearing, the thing, the professional outfit, you could have this as an option." And so of course, because Dick Nunis said it, everyone did it like one day. And it was fun because if you worked with someone who had worked at Disney during that, I want to say it was, let's say 90, 91, 92, 90, that era, you could find the picture of them wearing the Bermuda shorts. And because you had to have the socks all the way up and then the shorts, like so you just have a little bit of, it's not so much the shorts, it's the socks that really sell it as. And Dick admitted this was not his greatest decision. Okay, no one was like, you know what, Dick, your legs. That's the key here.
So always sad when obviously someone dies, but Dick Nunis lived to 91, nice ripe old age. We would all be lucky to live to, and it's always nice when it does happen. At least the spotlight gets placed on someone who otherwise has kind of been forgotten over the years, as anyone is. His important role in the development of the theme parks we all love so much is now being remembered over the past, between yesterday and today, and hopefully into the future. And that is the bright side of all this. So thanks very much for Ben for coming on and talking to us about Dick Nunis.
That's good.
So we're going to let you go.
I'm going to just go backstage here. I'm going to keep an eye on the developments. If something comes up, I'll let you know.
Definitely. Let us know right away. Otherwise, we're going to continue with the show. Kyle.
Hi.
We do have other things we can talk about today. We're going to see if we can get to a couple of them. As I said, the script's been thrown out the window
from yesterday,
including some that we're still not going to get to today, I hate to say. But that's okay. They're more or less evergreen. I will tell you that tomorrow we're going to have Mike Celestino on the program. He's going to talk about some of the fun stuff he's been doing recently. So one of the things I pushed off was his podcast. We'll push it off again until when he's here. And we may have Alex tomorrow as well to talk about a Walt Disney Family Museum thing he went to recently on the park map book, which exact name I can't recall. No, not that. Put it in the private chat for me, Ben. Or we may have them early next week instead, depending on what other news comes down the pike. But let's move on to the Critics' Choice Awards, which were announced. And Disney has a few.
No, it's not a Disney park poster book. It's a park poster book, is what he says.
What did I say?
You said that. I don't know. We didn't know the name of it, unless it's called map. Poster.
Oh, map. I'm sorry.
Okay.
It is different because there is a map book. There is a map book, and it is a poster book. So no, that is a correction worth correcting. Thank you very much. All right. So the Critics' Choice Awards are coming. Disney's got 20 nominations. The most by far is for a movie called Poor Things. Did you see Poor Things from Searchlight, Kyle?
I did not.
Well, you missed out on a lot, apparently, because it got 1, 2, more than I can count, like 12, 13 nominations. It's crazy.
Good to know you can count so high.
And check out that poster. Yeah, you missed out.
Sure did. I'm sure it'll be on Hulu at some point, though, right?
It's a lot to count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13 nominations for Poor Things. The creator, 20th Century Fox, got 2 nominations: Best Young Actor, Actress, and Best Visual Effects. Wish, one of the best movies of the year, got Best Animated Feature and Best Song, which is for This Wish. And Elemental got Best Animated Feature. I feel like Disney's going to beat each other up in that category all over the place. All Us Strangers from Searchlight and Guardians of the Galaxy 3 got Best Visual Effects. So Critics' Choice Awards airing Sunday, January 14th on the CW.
It looks like it's hosted by Chelsea Handler.
I sure hope that's why her picture's there.
It would make sense.
Let's see what else we got today. We have a review, don't we?
We do. We have a new review of a show coming out next week. Percy Jackson and the Olympians, coming to Disney Plus and Hulu for a little bit on December 20th.
Yeah, it's going to have the first episode on Hulu. And then if you want to see more, get Disney Plus, which I think is brilliant. I think it's brilliant the way they've been showing some of this stuff on Hulu, on ABC.
Especially when Hulu is in Disney Plus. You're going to have to go over a tab.
No, but there are people, believe me, there are people who just have Hulu and like Disney Plus. That's the kids' one. I don't want that. Let them know there's more out there. I think it's brilliant to be using these early episodes as temptations and to push people towards Disney Plus or in Hulu or whatever else. Let's see some of that ESPN content. Push people towards ESPN Plus. All right. Anyway, we have a review of Percy Jackson and the Olympians. That's the picture I want. Okay. This review comes from Bill
Galsville.
Galsville. And he is going to be our Percy Jackson vice president. His review.
We have a lot of Percy Jackson content coming your way.
So we are Doctor Who and Percy Jackson all the time here at Laughing Place. So his review of the first episode, because this is a series, not a movie. We, as always, read the headline and the final paragraph. The headline being TV review, Percy Jackson and the Olympians, Disney Plus. Once again, people, feel free to embellish those headlines. And our final paragraph, Percy Jackson, the Olympians. The Olympians is the holiday event that television has been looking for. We're going to read one more. That's a little brief. Fans of the books will get a true-to-form adaptation that doesn't sacrifice story for dollars while adapting the work to tell an incredible story in a new media. On screen is a diverse world that celebrates people for who they are and doesn't shame them for not meeting a certain expectation. I could use some of that in my life. Set amongst the quest and adventure, we get to see characters that are willing to stand up for what is right, despite the danger it poses to them.
I think we all accept you, Doobie. Maybe begrudgingly, but we...
Penalty of termination, maybe. He is a huge fan of the books, right?
He is, and famously, fans of the books and Rick Riordan himself were not big fans of the two movies that came out, produced by 20th Century Fox, probably about a decade ago now. And so this is the series that's going to be doing it the right way, with heavy involvement from Riordan, who Bill will have an interview. Bill got to talk to Rick Riordan and his wife Becky, and so we'll have that interview on Tuesday. You can check out. Exciting. And so, yeah, like I said, tons of Percy Jackson content coming your way. Bill's going to break down every aspect of this show, whether you're a big fan already or you're just getting into this. And he'll also apparently going to school you on some different mythology stuff that's included in the books and now the series, and give you some context for where that comes from.
And I don't know Bill's time zone, his schedule. I know nothing, but I would love to try to have him on every now and then to talk Percy Jackson, because I have a feeling this is going to be big for this company.
Well, he's a teacher, so winter break, I'm sure, is coming up.
We mentioned Poor Things getting all those nominations from the Critics' Choice. Turns out, obviously, I knew it was here somewhere. We do have a review of that film on our website, of course, by Alex Reif. And now it sounds interesting. Poor Things is an artistic twist on the Frankenstein story. So how about that? And he gave it 3 out of 5 stars. He said it's technically brilliant.
Sounds like 14 nominations to me. 3 out of 5?
Okay, so Alex is tougher on things than the critics, apparently. When it was Critics' Choice, it wasn't this Critics' Choice. But 3 out of 5 is not bad. It's not bad. All right, what else we got here? Disneyland After Dark reservations are open today for the world. I'm going to see how that's going on Twitter.
No, it's the land.
My tickets.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah, I don't see major complaints. So if no one's complaining, then the process is going okay. So, but yeah, those can now be purchased at Disneyland.com for all dates.
Yeah, there was one Sweetheart Night that sold out in pre-sales for for Magic Key holders. But yeah, I guess everything's open. But if that trend sticks up, I guess watch out for February 8th. People are going to be celebrating DCA's anniversary and their own anniversary at Sweetheart's Night.
Summer House is now open at Disney Springs. They are taking reservations, but they're also just now open. That place looks beautiful. I don't know. Maybe it's just the filters they're using on the pictures, but it just looks so summer housey to me. Summer House on the Lake. I am so drawn to it with every picture I see. It just looks like a smile on your face. Perfect location, nice, bright, and airy. I want a brunch there. I want some avocado toast. This is where I belong. So really looking forward to checking out this place myself. And the food, by the way, looks yummy, which is secondary in a restaurant, but the food does look quite yummy.
Whoa, it's a big cookie.
Can't wait to check out Summer House on the Lake. Hopefully someone from LP is going to be there, at least to get around, get some pictures pretty soon. All right. I put this off yesterday. Let's go ahead and do it today. So you may have heard that people who operate in, did we get those dates?
Yeah.
Sorry. Did we post? Did I miss that this morning?
Things take time, but it's in to do.
Oh, okay. Sorry. This is why Ben's distracting. You may have heard that independent tour operators, tour guides not affiliated with Walt Disney Company, there are people who advertise, hey, you want to go to Disney? Let me be your personal tour guide, or let me be your babysitter. I don't know if they're covered, but let me be your tour guide at Disney. And it seems like an innocuous enough thing. You come, everyone pays their own way, and they just make sure you have a good time, which seems like no big deal. There are some who I know push limits. Maybe they do Genie Plus things you're not supposed to do, or maybe they use a disability pass and they're not supposed to do that. And that I understand is a deal. But regardless, apparently Disney is cracking down on the use of that at Walt Disney World. Not at Disneyland, from what we've heard, but so far only at Walt Disney World. And they certainly have the right to. They very clearly say on tickets that you're not to use them for commercial purposes. So I've seen, there's been posts about this over the past few months from various tour guide operators, and now Disney has actually released a statement about it. In their statement is the quote, "When this activity happens, it impacts the experience of other guests following the rules, including our guests with disabilities, and impedes our theme park operations. Just like Starbucks would not permit a third party to come into their stores to sell coffee to their customers, Disney does not permit unauthorized commercial activities in its theme parks," end quote, which is an interesting quote.
So what if you hire a tour to go into the Starbucks on Main Street and then sell coffee? Then you're just double doing it.
That seems like two different things. One is impacting guests versus you're competing with us because we also offer tours, or they can do whatever they want, but the reasoning seems interesting. But the fact remains, if tour guides are doing things, which we certainly heard they are,
it's kind of like those DVD things, like you wouldn't steal a car.
Especially regarding reservations and access passes, that is wrong, and I agree it should be cut down on. So anyway, just wanted to make sure you guys knew Disney has put out a statement. It's not just the words of these guys saying they're not letting me do this anymore. Disney actually addressed it. You see what happens. We have flower and garden dates.
Or at least date. I don't remember if there was an end date yet. But
what do we have? I don't have an article to refer to.
Go to the site. I don't know. Go to the Disney World site. I'll get you the link in a second.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
While we wait for Kyle on that.
Yes. We know that the Festival of the Arts is going to end on February 19th. And not long after that, then the International Flower and Garden Festival will kick off, because we just always have to have a festival going on at Epcot, and it looks like it'll be later in February 28th. So only 2 weeks, less than like a week and a couple of days.
Week and a couple of days. February 28th is the date, and interestingly enough, no end date, as you said. Sorry, I'm getting called now. Never is. No end date given at this point, but it is for February 28th. So very, very short non-festival time. If you prefer your Epcot without festivals, the way Walt and Dick Nunis intended, then you can have a little 2-week window there to make that happen. Otherwise, it's festival time once again. All right. What were we going to talk about? I guess that's it. Let us go to this.
Da, 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 da.
All right, this day in Disney history, the portion of the show where Kyle shows off his Disney knowledge or lack thereof by telling me what happened on this day in Disney history. First up is a movie on this day in 1961. I will read you the synopsis I always do once I verify that's accurate. Yes. All roads lead to magical Mary Blank as Mary Contrary and Tom Piper prepare for their wedding. But villainous Barnaby wants Mary for himself, so he kidnaps Tom, setting off a series of comic chases, searches, and double crosses.
I don't know.
The big hints there are Mary Contrary and Tom Piper.
I'm sure it would be if I had any any idea. Okay. Okay, that's a movie I've heard of, to be fair.
I thought you might get that one with the name.
No, never seen it. I've heard the name.
All right.
Actually,
On
wouldn't
this
have
day-
even sworn that it was a Disney movie.
Oh, ouch. Painful. All right. Next up, on this day in 1973, a movie opened. I'm sorry, not a movie, opened. A TV show premiered.
1973.
No,
TV show.
no, it's not a TV show. It is a movie. I'm an idiot. It's a movie. Because there were no Disney Channel in 1973. A movie. Comedy. Bob Crane, Barbara Rush, Kurt Russell. The motion picture debut of Bruno Kirby.
Seems like a thing I should know.
Help you? No, I doubt it. Have you even heard of Superdad?
No.
No, yeah, I'm not. All right. Now we're getting to your era, Kyle.
Okay.
1984. After unexpectedly losing his beloved dog Sparky, young Victor harnesses the power of science to bring his best friend back to life with just a few minor adjustments.
Frankenweenie.
Frankenweenie, wrong. That movie is called Poor Thing. No, just kidding. It is Frankenweenie. Very good. Have you seen Frankenweenie?
I have not seen the original short, nor have I seen the animated movie from much more recently.
I haven't seen it either. Very weird. 1988. Happy birthday to this young Disney star, most known for her turn in all of the High School Musical films, but also a fantastic singer, one of the Disney kids. Her name is...
there's only so many of them. Who's the main one? I just lost her name, but is it Ashley Tisdale?
It is not, but it is the main one, so I'll give you partial credit. It's Vanessa Hudgens.
Okay, thank you.
Happy birthday, Vanessa Hudgens. On this day in 2003, a hotel opened. Was just going to be the first half, but the second half never came, at least not under this name.
So Pop Century?
Pop Century is the correct answer. Very good. And not finally, but on this day in 2017, Disney made a major announcement. 2017.
That they were officially buying Fox.
Yes, very good. Very good. And finally, this one I'm just going to read. This is from 1966. So if you remember December 14th, 1966. This is, as all of these are, courtesy of thisdayindisneyhistory.com. Lily Disney visits her husband, Walt, at St. Joseph's Hospital across from the studio in Burbank, California. Although Walt is very ill, she is encouraged by the strength he shows. His brother, Roy, pays him a visit at night, and they talk about company matters, Epcot, and Disney World. Walt looks at the ceiling and points out the design of the new Florida park to a teary-eyed Roy. After he leaves, Walt asks to have his bed raised so he can look toward the nearby Disney studios. At Roy's orders, every one of the studio's lights is left on to shine through the night. And of course, Walt Disney would pass away the following day. All right. Ben, you got anything new? Nothing new on the Nelson Peltz stuff. Once again, the top story by far in the world of Disney right now, Nelson Peltz will be or is submitting his name and former Disney CFO and Parks Chief Jay Razullo's name to be on the board of directors. And he is trying to once again throw his weight around. So we will be following that story all day, all week, all month, leading right up to the shareholder meeting.
All day and all of the night. We will have a walk and talk from the experiment later today at noon Pacific. I thought we were just bringing back all our old Laughing Place terminology.
You know, I'm going to read this, Rebecca, because I completely agree with her. This is wrong, and I mean that. So thankfully, that is not the case today. If you go to Disney Plus right now, for us who also have Hulu, but we're going to Disney Plus, The first thing that popped us for us the other day was the Hulu tab, which we know has been added, and it's pretty innocuous here. No big deal. But when we did it yesterday, or maybe it was the day before yesterday, what popped up was 3 really disgusting posters. And you just don't want to click on that Disney Plus tab. I realize we don't have to click on the Hulu, but the very top banner dominating the page was just 3 disgusting posters, 3 images you wouldn't see anywhere on Disney Plus. And don't like that. Don't like that at all. Even before you have a chance to opt out or whatever, just there it was. So if you're going to force Hulu on us, at least force posters like these, Futurama, and not.
Well, you can lower your settings to
a few days ago.
TV14.
Yeah,
And I don't even know if you have a Hulu tab, or maybe you still do. I don't know.
Yeah, but I don't want TV14. I don't mind. I get to choose the shows I want to see, but I don't want Hulu images. Disney doesn't have Disney Plus. Even at TV14 isn't presenting images like that. I don't mind that the Hulu tab is there. Don't force me to look at. You can make it innocuous like they do here. You can choose what images you want to put out there on the Hulu tab of Disney Plus. And I think they made some bad choices. There you go. All right. That is all we got for today. Tomorrow we're going to have some fun. We're going to have Mike Celestino join us. I think we're going to have Alex join us. It's guest star Friday here on the morning show. I'm going to make sure we have some pocket picks. We can have some fun and send you into the weekend. Right. Till then, later.